Order. And our invocation this morning is going to be presented by Jeff Mackey. Jeff, are you with us?
I'm ready. I'm right here.
Okay, great.
All right. Please pray with me. Almighty God, to whom we must account for all our powers and privileges, guide the people of the United States in the election of officials and representatives, that by faithful administration and wise laws, the rights of all may be protected, and our nation be enabled to fulfill your purposes. In a world that seems controlled by a 24-hour news cycle, moving from one scandal or outrage to the next, it is good to be reminded that we are living in but one moment and a stretch of time that spans millennia. Our hope rests only in Almighty God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. And welcome to all of the participants today. Obviously, this is a big day in the history of the United States, and we're going to have some changes made in our country one way or the other, and we're probably not going to know about it till the end of this week. But it is a big day and a very important day. And I hope that all of you will join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I left out under God. Sorry about that. Thank you for putting the flag up. Dave, I should have asked you to do that before I got started.
You're welcome.
Okay, on announcements, I think it was Ernie who told me, reminded me that the Hickory Museum of Arts has a 4-page write-up in the Our State magazine. And I'm sure it's a very good one. And so if y'all take that magazine, you probably will want to look that up and take a peek at it. I think that our Hickory Museum of Arts is remarkable considering the size of our area here and how good it is for a city of our size. And also, I got a call this morning from Lee Young, and he wanted me to remind everybody that the signups for the bell ringing are still going on. I will tell you we're a little bit concerned about November the 28th because, of course, that's the day after Thanksgiving, and I'm sure a lot of our members will be traveling. But if you're going to be in town and can help us that day, it would be really good. The other day is December the 5th. And last, Ernie Sills has an announcement concerning Polio Plus. Ernie? Have we lost you, Ernie?
Ernie, you're going to need to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Where do we sign up for bell ringing?
We've sent out email notices. You should have gotten it with a list of all the dates and times that are available.
I will also resend that. I'll put that in the chat, so the link in the chat right now, so you can click on that and sign up for something during the meeting as well.
Great. Good. Great. I just want to I've mentioned this at the outside meeting we had over at the Salt Block a couple of weeks ago. But this year we're doing our Polio Plus a little different. And we're going to do the, just ask for a contribution of $40 to take out polio. And you will be getting this little flyer. David Leonetti is going to send this out to you along with some explanation. And I would ask for you to really give it some consideration, and we're going to try to wrap it up by December the 1st. So you got all month to do it. The real problem is when we're not meeting, is I can't grab you and strong arm you. So I'm going to have to figure out some other way to strong arm you. But I know everybody will jump in and participate and make it very successful. Next week's program, we're going to have a guest speaker as part of the foundation thing, but also part of the polio, speaker on polio. And so I hope everybody will join in on that. Any questions? All right, that's it, Lou.
Okay, thank you, Ernie. Appreciate that. And before we move on to the program, are there any other announcements that any member would need to make on any subject?
President Lou,
Yes.
this is Bill Laird, and I'm communicating to you from down in Pensacola.
Hello, Bill.
I got this information earlier this morning, or I would have shared it with you, but this is from our mayor, Hank Guess. I am excited to share recent information from the Hickory Aviation Museum that Blue Angel number 5, which is an FA-18, will be joining the Hickory Museum. No firm date or time as of yet, but it will be flown into Hickory sometime in November. And I tell you that because tomorrow, the entire Blue Angel group will have their last flyover using those pieces of equipment because they are transitioning to a brand new jet. So we had a presentation before from the Hickory Regional Airport, but I can't imagine how in the world we were lucky enough to get one of the 5 aircraft that they're retiring. And I thought the whole club might be interested in that.
Yes, thank you for that. It's amazing. Those folks that are running that museum have certainly done a lot of incredible things, and getting that airplane is certainly one of them. Now, one quick question though, you said they were going to do a last flyover. Where are they flying? Do you know?
They're taking off from the air base here and flying up and down along the coast, and then landing the 5 aircraft back at the Naval Air Station tomorrow afternoon about 5 o'clock. And about that time, we should be north of Atlanta coming home.
Okay. Which air station are they leaving from?
The Pensacola Naval Air
Pensacola.
Station.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Bill. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Today, our program is on vocational rehabilitation. It'll be presented by Rick Murphy, the business relations representative, and the presenting Rotarian is AJ Curley. So AJ, if you're with us and would like to introduce your guest, we would appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Lou. It is my pleasure to introduce my friend Rick Murphy. He is a business relations representative for the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services and works out of their Hickory office. I believe today, however, he is in their Lenoir office. He has been there 7 years, and he works with and assists job seekers who have disabilities, and he helps them achieve their vocational goals. Before starting his work with Vocational Rehabilitation Services, he worked 8 years in the private sector, working with individuals who had cognitive, behavioral, and physical disabilities as well. It is now my pleasure to turn the program over to Rick.
Okay, thank you, AJ, and thank you everybody at the Lake Hickory Rotary Club for having me as your guest. By the way, I'm kindly aware of some of the wonderful work of the Rotary Club and what you guys have done with polio around the world. I have a lot of friends in Rotary. I'm from Caldwell County, but I have friends around the world that are actually in Rotary. So when AJ approached me, I was especially honored to get to speak with you. And I'll be happy to be brief and leave time for any questions you may have. And I'll be sure to put contact information in the chat box so that anybody can contact me anyway, and also about an upcoming event that's really important that you may be interested in attending virtually. So I'd kind of like to start, if I could, with the video, if you're able to cue that up. It's very brief, just a couple minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get that, and we'll see how successful we are with that.
Okay, all right, great. Super. It'll be an adrenaline rush for me if it doesn't work.
All right, hold on one second here. Let's see. Perfect. It's taking a second. It's buffering a little bit. So let's see what it does. Why is it not? Oh, here we go.
The engineer of his own success, from learning how to brush his teeth to designing the fastest cars on the planet despite a handicap he's had since birth. From our sister network ESPN, ABC's John Donvan looks at how one man tougher than a turbocharged engine is America strong.
He's been going all his life because he's figured out what a shoulder can do, what a foot can do, what a chin can do to get him on the road. And though he's as safe a driver as there is, it's as if Rich Parker
Well, if you need me to step in, I will.
Let's see. Yeah, it looks like.
If it's a glitch, it's okay, and it's not Mr. Leonetti's fault. It's actually.
There's a whole lot in life, period, that I could say that I can't do. Just things that I haven't done yet.
like how he makes his living, an engineer designing high-performance cars, the ideas that come from his head, then play out at racing high speed on the NASCAR circuit. He's on the team at Hendricks Motorsports, the most winning designer in NASCAR.
We sat down and he showed me how he works on the computer and how he does his design work. I write with my right hand, you write with your left hand. He happens to write with his feet.
Who would have guessed when he was born back in 1983 in Beaufort, South Carolina?
You know, he was the cutest little boy.
The doctor pulled his dad aside
and said the baby did not have arms. And I just was sort of dumbfounded, like, what do you mean?
It meant engineering solutions, as his mom said.
We wanted his childhood to be as close to any other child's childhood as possible. That's always been our attitude. We are going to make it work.
We put this on where it turned out that Richie himself was chief engineer. Watch Richie the kid back then figure out how to open the refrigerator.
Pull it out.
Or long before learning to drive, how to get going on a bike that his dad rigged with extra long handlebars.
And that's what we use for.
Or nowadays, how to have a meal using that classic handheld device, the spoon. So yeah, speed bumps sometimes, but no stop signs.
I had two parents that from day one tried to make it so that my life was, I guess you could say, as normal as possible. Normal is.
Well, really, this is better than normal. This is America Strong.
And we can't wait to see what Richie does next.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, that's a powerful story, and again, I apologize I didn't provide a better medium for delivering that, but it's a true story. The fuller version, if you Google Richie Parker, is available on the video done by ESPN.
Without all the calories.
And so Richie was actually a VR client, not in our local office, but it's a very powerful story, very compelling. And I do have a PowerPoint presentation, if that's available, to just sort of tell you briefly what VR is, what vocational rehab is. So vocational rehabilitation is a government agency. Do you have the PowerPoint?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It'll come up right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, yeah, we're a government agency that helps people with disabilities achieve vocational goals. Do you see how disability is spelled? We don't focus on what people can't do, but on what they can do. And you can go to the next slide. So there's a lot of definitions for what we say are disabilities and a lot of misconceptions by individuals. So what happens when someone asks you, if somebody gave you a piece of paper and told you to draw a person with a disability, would you draw a person in a wheelchair? Would you draw a person with a low IQ? What would you do? Would you draw somebody who had gone through PTSD? So disability is, we don't look at it as the definition of what Webster provides. We don't use the definition that Social Security provides, another definition. We use a different definition than Veterans Administration. Our definition is basically someone who has an impediment or a challenge to go to work. I do not like the word disabled. I think it's misconstrued. I think disabled would be if my car broke down on Interstate 40 and it was completely done and there was no hope of reviving it, it had to go to the car crusher. I think that's disabled. But I think disability means my car might need to be jump started, or maybe it just needs some gas, or need a tire change, or maybe, I've lost the ability to, maybe it lost reverse or something, but I can still drive the car. So we assist people in those three areas, individuals that have either cognitive, behavioral, or physical challenge, and we help them achieve gainful employment and retain employment. Okay, next slide. Can you do the next one?
Trying to.
Oh, okay, that's all right. I'm not looking at the PowerPoint, but okay, there we go. So we provide an array of services. Everything we do is individualized. And what we do is we don't have a one size fits all. If you go to the doctor, the doctor's going to treat, what you're facing. If you go to a restaurant and you place an order, the server's going to provide what you want or need. So our services are individualized. So we can do career assessment to help people with job matching. The biggest thing is probably employment marketing skills training, help people with job search, resume application, how to interview, and learn what employers want, because it has to work both ways. We serve employers in the community. This is not one-sided. It has to be a good marriage between the individual that we serve and the employers we also serve. We also provide assistive technology. We believe in cleaning the whole fish. If maybe a person has issues, as you saw with Richie Parker, or maybe they need a vehicle that needs to be retrofitted so they can drive it. Maybe somebody's, we're all just a heartbeat away from a disability. We're either born with one or we can have one, an accident or an illness. And so what we do is, maybe there's somebody who can no longer get into their home. We can build a ramp. Maybe we need to fit the bathtub so that they can now access it. So we have an engineer actually on staff in Hickory, and we can do all kinds of things. We have assistive technology also for people, one-handed keyboards, an absolute museum of all kinds of ingenious designs, inventions located in Morganton and in Charlotte to help people with a variety, items to reach, items for people who are blind to be able to read when they open their cabinet to see, is that a can of corn, is that a can of peas? So there's all kinds of neat things to open jars, et cetera, et cetera. But we help people with, again, mostly the biggest part of help is helping people with placement, with jobs. Okay, next slide. So what we are, if you ask state government what we do, they'll give you a long mission statement that's full of gobbledygook. And what I say is that we are life changers. We make a difference in people's lives. I believe that working is a gift. To be able to work is a gift. It gives people a sense of purpose. Most people in America suffer from two actual, what are often termed disabilities, anxiety and depression. And sometimes the biggest cure for either one of those is being able to have a job and feeling like you have purpose. Okay, next slide. So let me share just a little bit behind the scenes, and I'll be brief, a couple of success stories, because this is about people. It's not about our program. It's not about anything else. It's about helping them succeed. If there's, so we bask in their success. So could you do the next slide, please? So here's a couple of examples. I've got a litany of these, and AJ knows me, and I got stories all day long, but we had an individual with a 47 IQ. Where's he going to get a job? Well, guess what? the person is a trainer in a furniture factory. Why is that? How did that happen? Learning disability. One of the most common disabilities is a learning disability. There's different types. The neat thing about them is I would hire somebody with a learning disability in an absolute heartbeat. People with learning disabilities usually have a longer curve in learning how to do a job, but the retention is better than any of us. Sometimes their retention is 100%. They remember the procedure, everything, and they make great trainers. Yeah, we had an auto accident survivor, quadriplegia, as a welder. A student who had cerebral palsy, we helped become a college English instructor, the TBI survivor, yoga. Can you do the next one? I'll speed up. Want to share a couple. There was a gentleman that came to me, and he was at the pinnacle of his career, and in dietary, he worked for the world's largest the world's largest providers of institutional and entertainment food, Compass and Aramark. He served at Supermax Prison. He served in all kinds of hospitals. He was overseeing a number of programs at the same time. At one prison, they served 45,000 meals a day. Okay. When he was in charge of what they did for the Olympic Games, they served 13 million pounds of shrimp during the Olympic Games. That's just a small facet. So this guy was doing so well in his career that he was in his second interview, is called back to take over the entire dietary program of Disney in Florida. In between that first and second interview, he had a brain bleed, he had a stroke. The bottom dropped out. He couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, he couldn't move. He was laying in a bed. He thought his life was over. It took him 2 years to learn how to walk with a walker. And when I met him, he could barely get out of a chair, and he had trouble putting words together. He had thoughts in his head. And I thought, oh my gosh, how are we going to help this man? He couldn't do anything physically. I fortunately knew a company that was struggling with their ordering process. They had a person who was a chef, who was a great chef, but he was being relegated to take care of ordering. And I said, listen, I know the problem that you're having, and I have a solution. I have a guy that I would like for you to meet, a gentleman I'd like for you to meet. And I believe he could take over that piece of that process and allow you to let your chef do what he does best. And so they actually created a job. It's called job carving. And they brought him on board, and they've done nothing but been thankful since. So he succeeded. He's got a job, and he's getting better and better. And he's moving back to where he was. So as you can see there, we help people with learning disabilities, all types of disabilities. It doesn't matter. We won't quit until they quit. As long as they're willing to look and work and achieve and overcome, we'll be right there with them. Could you go to the next slide? Okay. So we do have a big event coming up, and it's coming up later this month. There's the information. I'll try to put the link also in the chat box. But we host a banquet. And this will be the third year. This is a joint effort with Caldwell and Catawba VR. We serve 3 counties, Catawba, Caldwell, and Alexander. But through the Caldwell Chamber of Commerce, we are hosting an event, and it's usually been in person. This year it will have to be virtual. So that'll be an experience for us. But we're going to host several speakers, all individuals with disabilities, a range of disabilities, who will share briefly their success stories. And we'll also be honoring a couple of employers and showing our appreciation to them. And can you go to the next slide, please? Oh, that's right. I didn't send it, so I'm sorry. I put it in the chat box. I did it after. Sorry, AJ. I apologize, and apologize to you too, David. I was just going to put my contact information in there, so I did an extra slide but didn't send it. Sorry about that. So I'll put my contact information in the chat box. If you know somebody who you think may have an issue, they don't have to be on Social Security. They don't have to be a veteran. We help lots of veterans. But if you think they have something, it could be as little as a speech impediment, or maybe they just have issues. Maybe they don't even work well with people, but maybe they're great with things. If they have something that might keep them from being gainfully employed, have them at least just give us a phone call. I'll try to cut through the fat of all the process of government bureaucracy. And if we can just get a phone conversation, we may be able to find out if we could go forward and help them. So please feel free to give us a call, and I'll answer any questions you got. And thank you, AJ, and thank you everybody for letting me be your guest.
If anybody has questions, you can feel free to unmute yourselves or ask it in the chat box. Looks like Alan just asked, how many clients do you serve annually?
Okay. Oh, that's a good number. It's thousands in the Hickory office. So we basically have it divided into what we call caseloads. So over the course of a year, I'm not sure. Right now I have about 70 people. I think the Lenore and Caldwell and Alexander office has maybe about 50. Usually mine is a whole lot greater. So it can vary from like 30 something to 100 at a time. And I apologize that I don't know a hard number per year.
Julie asked, how are your services reimbursed?
Okay, so everything we do, good question. So everything we do is no cost, and it's because we're government funded. 50% of our money comes from federal money, and that's why you see like a sort of a sister program in South Carolina. And a friend of mine actually worked with Richie Parker. Then the other 50% is state funded. Okay, so we can't take any money or anything from anybody. We can't accept gifts. In fact, when I go to Chamber of Commerce things, AJ, if I win any kind of door prize or something, I have to give it away. So we have to maintain integrity about money.
I have one question for you. How do you find it potential employers for your clients?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay. So yeah, so you know what, when I took this job, there was a blank canvas and there was actually no training. So I pretty much had to knock on doors. So you kind of two ways of looking at it. If number one, I look at, okay, if there's a job out there that matches what I look at my client as a peg, and I look at the job market as a peg board. And I'm answering your question that if I see if this is a square peg, I want to look for a square hole. So I may be just looking for jobs and find a job, and then I may need to advertise that job to the employer, or it may be a hidden job and I need to go introduce myself. So I'm networked in with Western Piedmont Council of Governments, a lot of other organizations, to actually get to meet some employers. And actually my approach to them is not what I showed today. My real focus, first of all, is to them, to learn, to introduce myself to employers, to let them know I'm not with any kind of enforcement agency, but I'm actually a free service trying to help them find good people. And I try to find out what their needs are, what kind of people they look for, where's high turnover, and maybe get a tour. I can write a task analysis of a job. Sometimes the best person for the job is a person with a disability. Mm-hmm. So I just try to find them and become friends with them.
I understand. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions you'd like to ask Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, I have a question. If you have an individual that needs particular training for a particular position, who do you coordinate with? The community colleges or other training opportunities, on-the-job training, what have you?
Oh, that's great. There's several resources that we can use, and the college is a really great partner. So both Catawba Valley and Caldwell, so they're really good. So training. So sometimes there's sponsored training. It has to be within their vocational plan. If somebody is, it's a counselor's decision. So sometimes they're able to do it and sometimes not. One of the best things we do or have available is we serve people from 14 and up. So we start working with kids in high schools in the area that are identified as having disabilities. So we're really able to knit in with them and being able to tie them into a lot of federal money. We followed a lot of students. We've got students. One of our students recently became a dentist, student with a disability, a learning disability, became a dentist. So, we've helped people in a lot of areas. So a lot of times it starts through school. Sometimes retraining. It depends. A lot of truck drivers. We pay for a lot of truck driving because there's always a real shortage of truck drivers. Sorry, it's such an open-ended question. I wish I had a perfect answer, but we are able to help in a lot of ways.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you, Mr. Murphy. We appreciate your taking the time to share that program with us. You certainly are doing some good work, and I know that a lot of your clients can offer real value to employers, and it's a wonderful thing you're doing to connect them and get them together. And AJ Curley, thank you for putting this program together for us and inviting Mr. Murphy. We appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
So our next meeting, Floyd Lucas will give the invocation, and our next week's program will be on the Rotary Foundation presented by John King, and also Polio Plus by Bernie Sills. And so that pretty well concludes our meeting. So if you will join me in the four-way test, I would appreciate it. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair?
Is it fair
to
to all
all
concerned?
Will it bring
goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be
Will it be beneficial
Better.
to
all concerned? Thank all of you for joining us today, and I'll look forward to seeing you again in 1 week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Wonderful.
Thank
program.
you.
Bye, everyone.